السلام عليكم طلابنا وطالبات الأعزاء. This is the beginning of the grammar of unit number 3. So far we talked about the simple present tenses now and all the associated tenses with the present. Today we are going to talk about the past tenses. Particularly we will talk about number 1, simple past tense, and number 2, past continuous, and number 3, the use of used to. Let's begin with number 1, which is the simple past. What do we mean by the word past? Now, when we talked about past, we talk about a moment before now. This is now. So on the line of time, any point of time before now is considered past. Therefore, we talk about Palestine was occupied early in the 19th century, was occupied. We say the English, then the Zionism movement occupied Palestine about 70 years ago. So we talk about occupied. It is an action that began in the past and finished in the past. Again, when we talk about the simple past, we talk about an action that happened on the line of time before now, at any place, at any time. You see, this is past, or this is past, and all of these past. Even only 1 minute before now, 1 minute before now, an action which began and finished before now, a minute ago, is considered past. So this is now, these actions which happened on the line of past before now are called past tenses. Now, when we talk about the simple past, we talk about an action that began and finished before now. Began and finished before now. The most important thing is that it finished. For example, the academic school year began yesterday in Gaza Strip. You see? So we talk about began, started yesterday. We said Corona invaded the world at the beginning of last January. At the beginning of last January. So invaded. The beginning of the invasion of the corona disease. So therefore now, when we talk about the simple past, we talk about an action that began and finished before now. Now, what is the form of the simple past? The form of the simple past is very simple. You see, we talk about the form. We talk about the second declension of the verb. For example, we say play. The second is played. Or the third is played. Now, the past simple tense uses the second. The second declension of the verb. Not the first, not the third. Though the third and the second are the same in their form, but we use the second declension of the verb. So we say played. All verbs which are regular verbs take the form of ed at the end of the verb. We say, for example, try. The second declension is tried. We change the y into I, and then we add ed. So tried, we talk about help. We talk about helped. Later on, this id sound is a change. It changes into it. So we talk about helped. Therefore, now we add an ed at the end of the verb. So any verb now which is called regular, we can add ed at the end of the verb. So we change it into past simple tense. In the case of irregular verbs, these are the traces of the verbs which declined in Old and Middle and Early Modern English. Yani they were forms of declensions. Now we can talk about speak, spoke, spoken. The second declension is this, spoke. We talk about write, wrote, written. The past simple tense is wrote. So now again, we have two kinds of verbs according to the past simple tense. Now some of these we express the past and the past participle in the second and the third declensions by adding d or ed, as we said in play, played, played, act, acted, acted, and others are called irregular verbs. These irregular verbs are the verbs which do not take d or ed at their ending. Now when we talk about the simple past, now these are like speak, write, the past is spoke, wrote. These are teach, taught, teach. The past is taught. We talk about seek and sought. We talk about eat and ate. All of these, even cut remains the same as cut and cut. Therefore now cut is considered an irregular verb. So any verb which does not take ed or d at its ending in the past is called irregular verbs. Whether the verb is regular or irregular, if we want to express the past simple tense, just we use the second form with ed as played or as spoke or wrote or taught. Okay. Now this is the form we use in the past simple tense. Now when do we use the simple past? Number one, the simple past is used to express a finished action in the past. Number one, the simple past is used to express a finished action in the past. Now, we will say the Israelis occupied the Arab lands in 1967. No, therefore now in this case now we talk about an occupation that began and finished. That began and finished. In 19, at that time in the past, now occupying the Arab lands occurred by the Israelis. Number two, it is used also now to express actions that follow each other in the past. Actions be actions that follow each other in the past. Example, I say, when I was a child, this means in the past. This means 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, when I was a child, I played by the sea. I climbed short trees. I ran by the road. I threw stones on the Jews, and so on. You see? Now, we use the past simple tense in the past to express actions which happened one after the other, without any importance of the sequence of this action. I played by the sea, I climbed short trees, ran by the road, I threw stones on the Jews. You see, therefore now these actions, one happened, then another, then a third, then a fourth. Now all of these now are expressed by the simple tense, and all of them are finished actions. Number 3, the past simple tense expresses situations in the past as habits. As habits. Now, situations in the past as habits. Now, what do we mean by habits? What was my habit in the past? Example, when we said when I was a child, I played with my neighbor girls. When I was a child, I drew pictures on the beach. These were my habits. So in this case now, situations which express habits in the past are also expressed by using the simple past. Therefore now, to summarize what we have said, we said the past simple tense expresses an action that happened and finished in the past. Number 1, it is used to show an action that finished in the past. Number 2, it shows actions that follow one the other in the past. Number 3, it expresses situations which are considered as habits in the past. This is the use of the past simple tense, which is number 1. Now, can we make a question with the simple tenses? This is true. Any sentence in the simple past, for example, I played with my neighbor girls. We see, did you play with your neighbor girls? The answer is yes or no. Yes, I did. Or no, I didn't. In all of these cases now, you see, we use the auxiliary verb did out of verb to do now in the question. If even you want to show or to make a WH question, we say what or who did you play with? Who did you play with? The answer is I played with my neighbor girls. Okay? So therefore now we can make a short answer question by using did. We can use a WH word to ask also questions, where the answer could be complete. I played with for example, I played with my neighbor girls. Okay? Now, how do we make negatives with the simple past? It is very easy. The same thing now. When we see a sentence like played, you want now to negate it, just remove the ed we take did and add not to it. So it becomes, I didn't play with my neighbor boys. I didn't play with my neighbor boys. I drew pictures on the beach. I didn't draw. Drew past becomes draw present. Didn't is for the negative. Pictures on the street. Why? Because I drew pictures on the beach. I didn't draw pictures on the street. Therefore, now we can make, in this case, a question. We can make also a negative by using did and didn't. Now, this is about everything about the simple past. Let's now, you should know that expressions of time and time expressions, because the simple past in these sentences is time anchored. Yeah, it is governed by time. Therefore, now there must be in the sentence expressions, time expressions that show the past. For example, the word ago. We say the class began 10 minutes ago. Began. Yeah, the beginning of the class began and finished. Now, with the word ago, 10 minutes ago, we talk about this morning. This morning. We talk about last day, last week, last year. Now, we talk about the past 10 hours. We talk about yesterday. Now, these expressions, these time adverbials or time expressions, all of them express that the action happened and finished in the past. Therefore, now you must use the simple past, i.e., you must use the second declension of the verb, which is regular, or ate, or cut, or put, or shut, or taught, or sought, which are used in the past simple tense. Now let's now move to the past continuous. What is the form of the past continuous? Now, the past continuous is formed by was or were plus main verb added to it ing. Example, she was laughing at her mother. Was laughing. They were throwing stones. Now, were throwing. The form of the past continuous is was or were plus the verb plus ing. So we say sentences. We use sentences as she was laughing, they were throwing stones. Now, how is the past continuous different from the past simple tense? Now, when we talked about the past simple tense, we were interested in an action that is finished. Yani, at the ending point, we were interested in the ending point of the main verb. But in this case now, we are interested, number one, in the progress of the action, the continuity of the action, laughing, the process of laughing, the progress of laughing, the progress, the continuity of throwing. Also, we talk about something else. Now, when we talked about the simple past, we talked about an ended and finished action. But when we talked about laughing and throwing, we usually talk about an action that is not finished. That is not finished. And we mean by this, it is an action that did not come to an end. A third thing about the continuous also. Now, we talk about an action that is interrupted. That is action that is interrupted. Yeah, we see interruption of an action. Example, while she was cleaning the dishes, and she is in the process of cleaning. Now you see soap, you see liquid, you see water, you see hands which work with the dishes. Now, while she was cleaning the dishes, something else occurred and interrupted this action. Stopped this action. Now, the dish fell down and was broken. Yani something happened to interrupt the action. So in this case now the action was going on and something interrupts the action. In the sentence before, something was going on and it is not complete, it is not finished. In the first sentence, now we talk about an action. We are not interested in laugh, but we are interested in the duration of the action. Therefore now, we use the past continuous to express three things. Number one, the duration of the action. Number two, interruption of the action. Number three, we talk about incomplete action. Yeah, the action is not finished. Isn't this different from the simple past? Yes, it is completely different. The simple past tense is used with an action that was finished, was complete, no interruption. Okay, no interruption. Therefore, now the past continuous now is formed out of was or were plus verb and ing. Now all the subjects either take was or were. All the subjects use the verb in the past simple tense, and use was or were plus verb ing, regardless of the subject was she or they or etc. But he and she and it, then singular, take was, and all you and I and they and the plural take were. Within both cases now, both subjects use the verb with the ing. So far now, we have talked about the past continuous and its form, and we bring examples on the past continuous now, which is used for an action. We are interested in its progress, in its continuity, in its action. Okay. Number two, that this action was not finished. Number three, we talk about this action now, which now is not complete. Now, still we will talk now about point number three, which is the use of used to. Now, used to means or is used to express a habit in the past. A habit in the past. Now you know that when we used the present simple tense, we expressed habits by using usually, by using always, depending on the certainty and the fulfillment of the frequency. Or sometimes we use often and sometimes and etc. But in the case of the past now, we use used to express a habit in the past. For example, we say when I was abroad. When I was, for example, in Egypt or in Jordan or Saudi Arabia, etc. When I was outside Palestine, I used to cook my dinner. I used to cook my dinner. Now, it was my habit that I cook my dinner at home. I do not buy fast food. I do not buy from restaurants. Nobody else prepares the dinner for me. It is I use to cook my dinner. This was my habit. But does it mean, does it indicate, does it imply that now I cook my dinner by myself? No. It means that this was your habit in the past, and now it is no longer happening. Now it doesn't happen. Now I do not. It means that now I do not cook my dinner by myself. It was my habit in the past, but now no. Now, another example. When I was younger, I used to speak English classes with Arabic translation. With Arabic translation. Now, definitely, we understand from this that nowadays it means, now we understand that when I was younger, before 20 years maybe, I used to speak English classes with Arabic translation. But now I do not include any Arabic. It means and implies that these days I do not include any Arabic translation with my speaking. Therefore now, used to is a time adverbial expression which is used in order to express a habit that was or were in the past, but now it is no longer used. Now it no longer occurs. It no longer happens. Finished now. Finished. It was in the past and finished. It was a habit in the past and finished. Now, we can make a question out of this. We say, did you use to cook your dinner in the past? Now, we say, did you use? The answer is, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I used to cook my dinner in the past. Yes, I did. So you can ask a question by taking did from use and leave use alone and invert the subject. We say, did you use to cook your dinner in the past? Well, the same thing is about the negative. We say, I didn't use to speak Arabic in my discussion. I didn't use to speak Arabic in my discussion. Therefore now, if you want to use used to is used to express a habit in the past, as we use often and usually and always to express habits in the present, but used to for the past, it means it is a habit that occurred in the past, but now it is no longer used, no longer happening with you. You see now, we can make a negative with used to by saying didn't used to. We can make a question for used to by using did used to. By this now, we finished this part of the grammar about unit number 3, now in which now we talked about the past simple tense the past continuous tense and the use of used to as a habitual past. Now, see you in the coming class with another point, with other points of the grammar, and then we can complete later on.